All right, so let's dive into the stuff I prepared for you. So on June 16, something got changed, right? On June 15, something got changed. SBA published a new form, the 3508, and there's two forms, 5 pages and also 3 pages. The 5 pages one is the full form. The 3 pages one is the easy form, and make sure that you you know the difference. And you can only use easy form if you're qualified for the 3. Then the borrower, so the qualification are 3. Number 1 is self-employed and non-employee entities. So if you're sole proprietors, you applied for PPP, or you are single member LLC, you applied to PPP. You're self-employed and non-employed, you don't have any more you don't have employees other than yourself, you're good. You can use easy. And you also did not reduce employee wages, and you did not reduce the hours. So that threshold was 25%, remember? So as long as you meet those 25%, you can use the easy form. And the borrowers, and we also had one more change on that, that is related to the weeks. Remember, it used to be 8 weeks you spent, now they expanded to 24 weeks, but 24 weeks related to some new calculation. So we want to just quickly go through that with you right here, my dear. Restriction on 24 weeks option. Each employee's maximum PPP wages is $46,154. How did I get there? I used $100,000, that's the total. And I divided by 52 weeks, that's a year. In a year, you have 52 weeks, right? Then I did 24 weeks, I times that. So I got 46,154. And know that when you apply for the forgiveness, your number of payroll cost cannot over that amount, because they don't allow you to pay any payroll cost that's over 100,000 as a W-2 total. Self-employed business owners, remember you were using your net profit to calculate, same thing. So you are going to use that, and you are dividing your 12 by 2.5, you're dividing your 12 months, right? You divided 12 months, you got the 2.5, that's the total you applied, right? So that amount is limited to the lesser of that amount with the other amount. The other amount is what? The other amount is 100,000 divided by 12 months times 2.5. So there you got the 20,833. So this is the self-employed limitation. Your health insurance cost for self-employed individual, general partner, that's a 1065 LLC, okay? And S-Corp are excluded. This time they made it clear. They're saying that, well, if you are S-Corp owners and you are LLC owner members and you are sole proprietor, exclude your health insurance premium payment. So restriction for the 8 weeks option, and there are people, you can choose to go for 8 weeks or 24 weeks. After June, I'll come to that date. There was a date, I think it's after June 4th. If you receive your PPP, you only have 24 weeks option. You don't have 8 weeks. But before that, people have 8 weeks that you can choose one of the two. So the 8 weeks one, we always know that it's a $15,385 per employee. That's the maximum for that 8 weeks period, okay? And then same thing with self-employed, is pretty straightforward. You just use your 8 weeks, whatever you applied, and to stay within, that's a lesser of what you applied and or what you calculated. And what you applied should always be the lesser one. So you just go with what you applied as a self-employed. And health insurance the same. And you cannot include that into your payroll cost if you are sole proprietor, if you are LLC owner, or you are S-Corp owner. You may say that, whoa, that is not how I applied for it. When I applied for it, I added in. That's okay. Application, And the forgiveness calculation is totally different. And you don't want to rely on what you applied because the rule at that time was different from this time. So you just stick with what's for forgiveness, all right? So made it clear, if you're LLC, S Corp, and the sole proprietor, health insurance is out of the window. That's not a payroll expense. But that's not to say that that's not to say that your other expenses is not payroll. So here, allowable payroll cost, all right? And look at this, salary, wages, and other cash compensations. You're gonna ask me, what is other cash compensation? Tips is other cash compensation. And maybe you have a cash balance plan for your company, for your employee, and those are cash compensation. Anything that you paid to your employee or to yourself, assume that you are actually working like an employee, anything you paid as a part of compensation. So if you take that out, people will say that, well, my pay got reduced. If you have that kind of reaction, that just means it's part of the compensation. If you are saying that, okay, and for my nurse, and we actually pay them $50 more every paycheck because they hold on to the outside of the office calls, they're on call all the time, so they have that additional money coming into them every week when they're on call. That is compensation because you are compensating people to have accidental time spent for the business, right? So cash compensations just means compensation. And health insurance cost for non-owner employees of sole proprietor, partnership, and S Corp. Look at that. It says that, well, okay, maybe you are sole proprietor, but you are paying your son to mow the lawn, and you actually pay his health insurance, and he is non-owner employee. I don't care he's your son or is your nephew and or your adopted son and whatever. And the fact is that he's not the owner. As long as he's not the owner and he's classified as non-owner employees, so your health insurance you paid for that person, it is part of payroll cost. Now, retirement contribution for non-owner employee, sole proprietor, and a partnership is part of the payroll cost. Non-owner again, right? And so those are retirement contribution for all employees of S Corp and C Corp. So there is a one item right here at the end. It says for all employees for S Corp and C Corp. In S Corp setting, you may have a 401k profit sharing plan. That is a plan that available to yourself and also available to your employee. Everybody is treated the same. If you have 10% match, you give to yourself, you would also give to your employee. In that case, it's kind of like cafeteria plan, and then that you can treat that as a payroll expense. And of course, C Corp is no matter what is treated as a payroll cost, even if you're paying for the main shareholder or the owner, okay? So that is a allowable payroll cost that you will, it was furthermore clarified in the June 16 new release. So required document to submit on the forgiveness form. And I want to, right after this slides, I will show you the actual form, but let's see. So the forgiveness application is called forgiveness calculation form. So that is SBA term. They call that forgiveness calculation form, and so that is actually the one that you should submit. Schedule A is also a part of the form on the 5-page one. Remember, there's a full one, there is an easy one. So the Schedule A is attached to the full one. And the payroll document for the 24 weeks, and actually here is a payroll document generally for any forgiveness. The reason it says for 24 weeks is because this is coming in on June 16, and I think I just wrote that, but just so you know that it applies to everybody. You need to have bank account statement and a third-party payroll processor report. What does that mean? Third-party payroll processor report means that maybe you are working with Community CPA, we're running your payroll, and we need to produce that payroll processing report. Payroll processing report tells the people that what is your net to the employee, what is the portion to your UI payment, to 940, 941, so your total cash outlay, and it's a detailed ledger report for people who to see your total cost of payroll expense. And they also require you to have IRS 941 report and the state UI report. By saying that, and you right away thought, okay, so if I am going to apply for forgiveness after July 1st, right? I am 8 weeks, I'm going to apply for 8 weeks, I'm ready, and I already meet my safe harbor for June 30th, and I restored all the people, and so now on July 1st, I'm going to submit my forgiveness. Hold on to that because you need 941. So unless you file it early, right, that's due on July 15th. So unless you file it early, your 941 need to be presented, your state UI report need to be presented. So that is a required document, so make sure you'll talk to your payroll processor to get that in early for you, then you can submit. Otherwise, you're gonna wait until after July 15. And in fact, the UI report is due at the end of July, so I don't suggest that you wait for that long. And just as soon as you're done, just go ahead and get that forgiveness applied. And remember the forgived amount is not just for payroll, right? These two items I just talked about is kind of for payroll, but it is also for your non-payroll related expense. For example, your rent, utility, and mortgage interest, right? Those are common ones. Then later on June 5th, there was a guideline come out saying that we can include cell phone or internet, right? Not both, but one of those. And so how do you prove these ones? Listen, payment receipts, okay? Canceled checks or account statement documenting employer payment to these items. So if you are going to claim your health insurance, you need document for health insurance. If you contributed to retirement, you need document for retirement. Basically, they need to see that cash really went out of your bank account, and not any bank account, that bank account you had for PPP, okay? So ideally, your PPP account should be so clean. It should be disbursement one after the other than payroll, health insurance, 401k, and rent, utility, and it should be just listed there. The balance should be zero. If you have as clean as that way, then you don't have any issue on the forgiveness. You attach the backup and you should be ready to go, okay? If you are not, if you just had too much in and out on your PPP account, relying on Community CPA, relying on your accountant to come up with a good ledger, a ledger that clearly indicates what the transactions are, right? Documents showing FTE prior to COVID-19, okay? This is very, very tricky. And you have 2 periods, right? Remember, there was 2 periods. One is from January to February. That's 1 period to compare to. The other one was in 2019 from February the 15th to June 30th, right? Remember those 2 periods. Choose one of them. You have, we already have people, we have a good reason why to choose one over the other. So you want to go through your thought and make sure to choose one that works for you the best. All right. And by selecting those ones, you need to provide 941 report and UI report of those periods. It is not like you choose one and then you can just say what you want. No, you need to have a third-party documentation to prove that your FTE is a certain way. And for non-payroll expenses, you want to prove the prior year, the prior obligation. You're saying your rent is $2,000. You have to have a way to prove either rent on January, February, or rent from 2019, February the 15th to June 30th, 2019, because what if your rent was $1 and now just because PPP and you raise your rent to $2,000? So SBA was smart enough that to say, well, we want to see a proof. So a lease contract, canceled payment from the past, they're all good ones to prove. All right. So now let me take you to the PPP Forgiveness loan. So this one you see on my screen, it is PPP loan forgiveness calculation form. See right here. This is why I say it is an application, but they call it PPP loan forgiveness calculation form. And this is the 5-page. This is the full one, and not the easy one. The full one has the item where you have to put in the payroll cost and your other non-payroll related expense. So they have your line 5, that is your total salary, wages, the total adjustment for the full-time equivalent. Oh, this is the adjustment for the full-time equivalent section. And this is potential forgiveness amount. So this is where the calculation coming in with the PPP loan amount. See, this is where you get the loan, how much that is. And then you also have your 60% calculation. Then they give you the forgiveness amount right here. And to support this first page, you need to come over to the Schedule A. This is where I say you attach Schedule A. But to support the Schedule A, you need to fill in the Schedule A worksheet. So this is page 4, and the page 5, it is very straightforward. Is some demographics collections that you can easily answer. But you should start your application with page 4 first, then go back up to page 3. And then you will come into page 1 to fill up the page 1. Then here you cited, oh, your certified is all truth and nothing but truth, and then you sign your name. So this is a full application, okay? You may ask me, where did you get that? Where did you get this full application? I got that from SBA site. And if you go to SBA site, and this is the SBA site I went to, you select Paycheck Protection Program, go all the way to the bottom. All the way to the bottom, ladies, gentlemen. Don't know why they are doing that, but it is right here. All the way to the bottom. Did I go 2 way of the bottom? Let me see. Yes, right here. See, loan forgiveness. And you have this long version right here. And look at the date, it's June 16. Folks, be really careful. There is a one dated May 20th. That one is outdated. Don't even look at that anymore. Look at this one. This is the long form, 5-page. This is the short form, 2-page, 1 page, basically. Is a 1-page number, 1-page signature. And then here is the instruction. And here is the instruction for the short one. And you also have a Spanish version for the long one, okay? So this is where I got that information. You can come over here, get to figure out what to do. It's a lot easier. It's not easy, but it is easier than back then. Here is the short one, ladies and gentlemen. The short one is having a similar calculation. But you see in here, it didn't have the Schedule A and the Schedule A worksheet. It is assumed that you meet all the 25% requirement and you are, you know, or you are maybe just one person operation, so you can just come over here. Of course, you cite a lot of things, and you are saying you are signing your name here, saying the dollar amount of which forgiveness is requested was used properly, include payroll cost to at least 60%, and if a 24-week period, and it comes to explain to you what you would already done, then you check it. So our recommendation to you is that even if you file a short form, your backup need to be there. Let me tell you, this forgiveness is processed by banks, right? By the banks who give you the loan. The bank make you sign this one. So the intention is that the plan is they're not liable for you are lying. Okay, so let's say someone lied and they give to the bank. Even if the bank give you the forgiveness, if later on you got a compliance audit and you are at fault, the bank has zero responsibilities. So some banks take the stance to really scrutinize you and making sure that number is right. So you want to give them all you have. And for some bank, I knew the fact is some bank would just not do anything to really verify. They're just going to rely on you, maybe because they trusted you enough that they know you well. They just going to be that way, or it's just their policy that they don't want to spend any more time. I have not heard of SBA paying banks for doing this work. Maybe it was some agreement I didn't know, but when we were applying for the loan, the bank got incentives. They got paid. Okay, they got paid from 5% to 3% of the loan you are getting. So they are motivated to help. That is why all these small businesses get helped. That was a good measure. That was a good thing to do. But this forgiveness, I think, is actually part of the 5%, 3%. So the bank can choose how they really deal with. I am just saying to you that if you are ending up with someone who is going to deny you because they are not happy with your backup, and yeah, they're totally legit to do that, and you don't want to try the bank out, you just want to do it good, complete, right the first time. And that's very important. One of the biggest underwriting mistake you would do when you apply for a loan is you go back into the bank changing your number every day. Oh yeah, you think my income is too low? Let me give you a bigger one. If you do stuff like that to the bank, you are fraudulent and they will not underwrite your loan. Okay, so same thing. If you are going in to apply for forgiveness, one day you are this way, the other day you come up with more, not a good practice. I would not recommend that. So you send in once, only once. Okay. All right. So let's take a look at our slides again. So the last day of PPP, June 30th, 2020 is the last day PPP application. And this is the last day the SBA would approve it. And there's still $100 billion available, folks. And why are you not applying for PPP? I don't, beyond my understanding. And the local banks and the national banks use your resources. But if they close down, you have two online sources I want to show you. And one is this one. And the little logo like that is a cabbage. And look at my screen. It's a kabbage.com. And we just had a client applied for PPP, and it got approved in 24 hours. Cabbage is moving really fast, and they're still taking application. So there you go. And another resources to give you, Blue Wine, BLUEVINE.com. And look at that. They say our team will continue to process PPP application as quickly as possible until the program ends on June 30th. What are they saying? They're saying that you give that to me on June 30th, I would still try. All right. So, and they said that we will notify you by email within 48 hours. Folks, we still have time. Today is 20th, and we have 10 full days. Okay. And I think I will wrap up PPP at this point, we're going to EIDL loan. All right. So, EIDL loan. And what is the difference between EIDL and the PPP? I have quite a few questions coming up like that. They think it's the same, then later on they realize it's not the same. Let me just give you a quick rundown of those differences. I listed them by couple of points. The maximum loan amount for PPP is 10 million. Yeah, and it is from 0 to 10 million. Most of the folks, if you get under 2 million and the compliance side of it is random, is selected. But if you're going over 2 million, you are being compliance reviewed, 100% is required. But for EIDL loan right now, it is 150,000 maximum. When you go online to apply, that's what that is. And you're gonna ask me, why is 150,000? You know what? I have no idea. I was told, and I heard the SBA director was telling everybody that she did a calculation, and 150,000, whatever number you got, you may be getting 8,000 or 100,000, whatever number you got, that represents your 6-month working capital. Yeah? What? 150,000 for some business I know, and for 6 months working capital, they really think businesses are easy. I'm telling you, there are people who are not in business. They think the business owners are just, sleeping 24 hours a day and doing nothing but making money. Isn't that right? Yeah, a lot of people think of business owners that way. And I'm telling you that is not. And on forgivable side, the EIDL loan has a 10K forgivable. It's automatic, folks. It is actually not even called loan, it's called grant. Okay, yeah, now the way they hand out the 10K is on your application. If you put 1 employee, if you're a sole proprietor, you got 1,000. And if you put in 20 employee and you got a 10K. So the maximum is 10K and the minimum is 1. It's grant. So I am asking you, and who today you're on my webinar. I want to ask you, did you ever want to get a grant? You say yes, because grant has no restriction on spending. You don't need to pay back. Hey, it's given for granted. All right. So this is that 10K for or 1K for grant, and that's the difference. But your PPP may be 100% forgivable or part of it. So that's the difference on the forgivable side. Collateral, and for EIDL loan, depends. And I had one little video on our channel to talk about security interest. And so if you borrow EIDL loan under 25,000, all right, 25,000, boy, 25,000 for small business is quite a bit of money. Okay, that money, no collateral. That means it's, that means if your business folds, it goes away, and there is no collateral and no collection, is collateral free. But for PPP loan, and it's definitely no collateral, okay? But for EIDL, if it is over 25,000 and under 200,000, that period, that amount, and it is guaranteed by your business asset. So you are going to ask me, what are the business assets? We'll come to there, okay? And a credit check, and EIDL loan actually check your credit already. That's why it is impossible for someone to go in and, make up an entity or make up a name and a social security number. It doesn't work because they check credit. They check your credit on EIDL loan, but they don't check your credit on PPP. Okay, automatic deferral means that, you know how you we don't have to pay the loan back even for PPP after you applied for forgiveness, if portion of it wasn't given for forgiveness, and that will be starting from that moment on for 10 months, you don't have to pay anything on the loan. And for EIDL loan, it's 12 months, okay? And for applying for the loan is also different. EIDL loan, you apply with the government, with SBA directly. But PPP, you deal with the banker, you deal with the financial institution, and they are the one get paid by SBA to do that work. And in fact, and I know they got paid, but look, folks, and how that is how fast they can disseminate the PPP amount, right? And I really do know our small business benefited from it. So that's a good measure. That's a good way for the government to push out the loan. And the EIDL, they hold on to that. So it was taking so long to get to people. And I knew my personal experience between April 1st to April 30th. If someone didn't have any cash backing, you don't get your PPP because you're forgotten. Only the big boy is going to get PPP, and you also don't get EIDL loan. It was the hardest time for any business person in that period. There are business closing just because of April. Okay, so EIDL loan did not come out at the time they're supposed to come out, and they're late. They're late. I don't care how good they are. They're late. And they come out really not timely for small business. And we have a lot of small business really done for the month of April. And for me, if you ask me, our personal experience on that April, that was the darkest time in my 25 years business operation. Darkest. And imagine as a CPA firm, you have April 15 timeline, suddenly that pooped and you don't have it. And then you have this, you have this timeline pushed out to July, and the COVID-19, there's no way anybody can operate anything at that time. But the government promise didn't come to reality. So I am not pleased with that. Loan terms. So EIDL loan has a 30-year term, 3.75 rate. And our PPP, if it has become a loan for you because you didn't get forgiven, it is 1% for 2 years. And for the new one you got, I believe it's after June 4th. And I need to check on that day. And that become 5 years. 5 years on 1%. And on the usage side, PPP was so clearly defined, right? Your payroll cost and non-payroll cost. Non-payroll cost is the rent, utility, and market interest, and it's just simple. But your EIDL loan can be used more widely, and it is generally defined as a working capital, okay? And we can go into working capital later, but I want to tell you the difference. And so these are the main difference between EIDL loan and the PPP. And just keep in mind, you can have both. Yes, you can have both. But just make sure you do not expense the same expense out of the both account, right? So make sure you don't double dip. I call that double dip. The 10,000 grant, the 1,000 or 10,000 you got as a grant, and that should apply even if. So what I'm saying here is that 10,000 grant is really should be your purpose of applying for that loan. Even if you don't want any EIDL loan, you can apply for that, okay? The government like you to apply. They want to help you. That is not wrong for you to think that, oh, I don't want the loan, but I want the grant. Absolutely fine. Just apply for it. And every business, big or small, should apply. And if you have a sole proprietor business and you didn't get PPP because you were running a loss, right? So you couldn't really calculate any number out. Now you can do EIDL loan. You can at least get 1,000. All right. Consider next round of pandemic. And if we are looking at 1918, the Spanish flu, and we knew that this pandemic may not be ending right now. and maybe it will come around in the winter again, and you think we can have another PPP winter and EIDL winter coming out for you? No way, no way. And you want to get it when you have the chance to. And even if you hold on to the money, you don't need it, but winter comes, in case we run into shutdown again, that money will become helpful resources for you. This is what I've been telling people, and who is ready to turn off EIDL loan, come to talk to me. And security interest, I kind of talked about it, and I know you already knew. And I just want to mention to you that, and for 150K EIDL loan you got offered, no personal guarantee. No personal guarantee means that if you fold your business, the loan obligation fold as well. There's no chase after your personal property and trying to take your food stamp away or trying to take your car away. It's not like that. And even if you have to personally guarantee anything, and bankruptcy is also a way to get liberated. To, I'm not saying that, I'm not encouraging people to file bankruptcy, but I understand small businesses, and you risk everything and you got into business, then you are not coming out right, and you got more liabilities, and you owe government, you owe people, you owe other company. The only way you can shake that up and restart is bankruptcy. And I would not attach any personal feelings. And the honest truth is, we have clients who we worked all this work for them, and they took our document and go to bankruptcy lawyer, filed bankruptcy on us. All right. So I don't appreciate these humans, but I also understand it's a liberation at their spiritual side. So I would not want to be that person. But if you file bankruptcy, yes, you got relief, and we write off our invoice and let you go, and we won't bother you anymore. And we also don't want to see you because we don't trust you anymore. Okay. Then the next thing I want to talk about is this advanced part. And remember, there was talk about the 10,000, the grant part. It will coming in to be your to be part of your forgiveness calculation. You remember that, right? And we did some study. So this is, the grant is not part of loan. It doesn't matter you have the loan or not. It's not part of the loan. I want you to know that clearly. And you do not need to return the grant even if you reject the loan. And you can spend any way you want it for the grant for your business, and that is grant. That is grant. And based on our study, the EIDL advance, the grant, will be deducted from the loan forgiveness amount only for EIDL loan that you received between January 31st and April 3rd. So if you get your EIDL loan before this time, it is part of your forgiveness total when you apply for PPP. But after that, and our understanding is not, because there's no longer existed on those forms we were sharing with you, and they don't talk about it anymore. So maybe more clarification will come. But this is what should happen if you got EIDL loan before April 3rd. So your, for example, PPP loan is 50,000. Your grant advance EIDL is 10,000. So when you ask for forgiveness, make sure you have 60,000, not just 50. So that way you get the other 10,000 also forgiven. All right. Then you maybe ask me that, well, what if I applied, I got my 1,000, I just don't want the loan anymore. I don't want it in. How do I reject it? How do I reject that? And you just do nothing. You go into your portal, look at the amount, you decide you don't want it, don't do anything. You will get an email like this. They will say that failure to complete these steps will result in your application being withdrawn. So let them do that. It takes 2 months to disappear. Okay. So if within 2 months and you change your mind, go back. Maybe after today you change your mind and go back to the portal and sign in and get that loan. Okay. So, but what if you got the loan, but you want a different amount because the loan amount is too big and you don't want to have any collateral, even for your business. So you want the loan to go down to 25,000. Here I have an example. This person got offered for 16,800. So you come over here, you're going to click edit. You edit. You are going to edit the amount. So the next screen, I show you what it looks like. So you can move your little amount like this. See, the lowest amount is 1,000. The highest amount is whatever they give you. And you can ask anything in between. Okay. And what if, so this is like you want a smaller amount because they don't go up, they only go down. So what if you want more? What if you got offered 150,000? That's not enough. You are laughing at it. You're like, what? That's my 6 months operating working capital? Are you kidding? And you think of me what? I'm sitting at home doing nothing and not doing business. It's just crazy people. They don't understand the business. And if you end up in that situation, calm down and don't get upset. I know you have a right to be upset because this is ridiculous for saying that this is 6 months operating capital. And this is the biggest amount we can get right now, okay? If you got 150,000, consider you are regarded as a big business in SBA, from SBA standpoint. And you may request loan increase and you have literally 2 years time. So to apply for the increase, what you need to do is you need to email them. You email with your loan number and you tell them that you need more. Okay, and so you want to make sure that the biggest thing is for you to make sure you email them your loan number and you give them your ID, your the business name that's on the loan, and you can even link your portals to them so they know who you are. They for sure can find you. Then you request for additional amount. There should be no underwriting. There should be no requirement. They should just increase your amount. Okay, and then. And within 2 years, you can do that. And also, let's say after 2 years, let's say pandemic is over by 2020, 2021, but in 2023, you realize that something happened. You have to have more loan from EIDL. And a good example I gave you is, a gas station in California got wildfire and they had EIDL loan. They only discovered 2 years later that the tank underground was also damaged in the fire because they were thinking that it wasn't damaged because it was burning on the above the ground, but take them 3 years to realize that the underground was also damaged. So they need $1 million and additional loan to fix the underground. So those are special circumstances you can apply. So you can still be under EIDL. And 30 years, 3.75. That sounds really good. So security interest, I'm coming back to here because I was going to tell you that what is the language inside of the CARES Act for EIDL loan. So this is what they say. They said that the SBA lays claim on, like if it is over 25,000, okay, they will lay claim on any tangible and intangible personal property, including but not limited to the following, okay? And I know a lot of you look at that personal goes, look, Ying, you're wrong. And they're asking for personal guarantee. No. So this personal property means business. They are talking about that business as a person. It is the business property, okay? So in underwriting world, when you are personally liable, you are actually sign a personal guarantee. It is literally tell you what you are signing, personal guarantee. You are not signing it, okay? So business, tangible and intangible properties. So here is all the list. Inventory, equipment, those are so understandable. And they're talking about paper, documents, a letter of credit right, and a deposit account. So those are all related to your income. So you might be having a letter of credit, you're entitled to 50,000. If you don't have anything to pay back to SBA, you are going to close the door. That 50,000 goes to SBA to pay for the loan. Okay, so everything under business name belongs to SBA if you don't pay that loan back. Now, and this is the language that the loan disclosure make you sign. So let's just read it. Okay, loan security requirement 1,000 to 25,000. Unsecured loan, that's number one, unsecured. So nothing attached, free. All right, and the 25,000, $1 to 200,000, and it's all business asset. This is good, right? 200,000 one and above to 2 million. And that 2 million is the maximum, okay? And remember the PPP is 10 million, but this one is 2 million. So the loan secured with all business asset, personal guarantee, okay? And the personal guarantee are not required for nonprofit. So if you borrow 2 million and for nonprofit, no personal guarantee. So now let's look at EIDL loan working capital. Remember I said that EIDL loan, you use that for working capital. Then you probably goes like, oh, what is working capital? And the definition of working capital by accountant, it is the net asset, is a net asset minus the liability, and asset minus liability, and the net working capital is working capital. So generally speaking, is everything you do on daily basis, okay? So here, and the SBA said that they're talking about fixed debt. When they give an example for fixed debt, they're talking about rent, but lease is as well fixed debt, okay? And then your payroll, and of course, you cannot use the same payroll data for PPP and here, so they at least need to be different from timing standpoint. And the account payable, anything you owe. Let's say you haven't really paid your insurance yet, so that is what you need to pay. That's called working capital. You need that. So some bills that would have been paid if pandemic is not here, boy, that's almost everything in my life could have been paid if pandemic is not here. So I will use that for EIDL loan. Okay, it's very loosely defined. I'm so sure something will come out, but for right now, just keep that in mind. And EIDL loan cannot be used. And I know there is a list of things I want to tell you, and the refinancing long-term debt, that's one you cannot use, okay? And then you also should not use that to reward the owner of the business. Don't reward yourself if you are the business owner, and use that for operating. Come on, use that for vendors, for your employees. They just don't want that to be for the owner. But if I work, I have a payroll in Community CPA, absolutely, EIDL loan can pay for my salary, okay? Because I worked, so I didn't really pay anything else to myself. So that is the spirit of EIDL loan, and you cannot use that for rewarding owners and or refinancing loans. And EIDL loan has requirement for the compliance, and we just talked about, it can make you feel like kind of just really messy. You feel like, man, I don't know what to do. So let me tell you what to do. And when you use government money, and you know, a lot of our small business people like myself, okay, I never ever used the government money. And one thing I am proud of myself is that I never got government benefit. So when I was in Canada, I don't. And when I'm in US, I never on unemployment. I'm just the person that I don't use government money. I just use money that I have. I also don't like to borrow. I have to borrow when I buy a property, but otherwise I don't borrow money, right? So a lot of us are like that. A lot of small business never had a government sense inside of the business. And other than submitting money to the government, we don't get involved with government. But now with pandemic, our business are drenched with government money. PPP is government money, and your UI is government money, and your EIDL loan is government money. And why am I saying that to you? I am telling you that your fundamentals need to change. You are small businesses. You might be thinking that bookkeeping is not important and it doesn't matter. Now you need to change, because your bookkeeping is so important now, and you need to document everything you did with government money, and we're not used to it. Okay, that's not something we used to do, but now you do, you have to. So this is where I want to say that if you have never done anything for your books and record, and 2020, as long as you have a government money in your business and you really need to do a better accounting, PPP loan need to be documented separately on your book, on your accounting. It need to be separated as a separate account, and the disbursement need to be separated. And the same thing, EIDL loan. That's a 30-year loan, my dear. You have to keep the record for 30 years. I am not kidding. If you use that loan for paying utility bill, that utility bill need to be kept for 30 years. Yeah, the original receipt. So, and this is where we're talking about compliance and accounting. So of course, I'm here to tell you all the great things about Community CPA. And we are a company and really into compliance. We actually do have a business line. We audit school and small cities and nonprofits. So we do compliance audit work regularly. So coming back to the EIDL loan and the PPP Forgiveness application, that is our cup of tea. So we are here to make sure that we can implement a accounting process that will fit you, that will get you there, and you really do want to invest in that kind of service. For EIDL loan, and whatever money you got, no lobbying at any level. Any level means if you got a loan, you hire Community CPA to do your book. And the Community CPA was taking your money and doing lobbying, that is also not allowed. So no lobbying, okay, no politics. And no double dipping, this is we already talked about, and you cannot use the EIDL loan and for, for the same expense. So that's really kind of require us to have a one account for PPP and a one account for EIDL. And in my earlier webinars, I talked about just use one. And now with all of these changes, today, my recommendation, I say that you need two separate accounts. So that way we don't get messed up, because EIDL loan need a lot longer time to keep, and the PPP, and we are going to close that, and the document is much more easy to retain. It's only 24 weeks or 8 weeks, right? So it's easier to handle, but EIDL loan is taking time.